things that I actually truly loved about this new season is that it felt like they took the positives and the best parts of season 1 and really amplified that. Hey, it's Kristen, and today we are talking about Season 2 of Netflix's The Order. The series follows students at Belgrave University torn between two secret societies, one of magic and one of werewolves. In Season 2, the lines between good and evil continue to blur as the knights struggle to regain their memories stolen from them by the Order. Now they want revenge, but must balance that with fighting murderous magicians, strange cults, and life-threatening demons. Honestly, do they even have time for class? Consider subscribing if you like my videos, and drop down in the comments and let me know your thoughts on The Order. There may be some spoilers, so you've been warned. So this is a series that had a bit of a mixed season 1, so if you want to see my thoughts on that, here's my review right over here. It did feel a bit like a watered down version of other supernatural shows, but at the same time there was something about it that, like, the more I talked about it, the more I kinda liked it. I think a big part of that had to do with the knights, and you could just see that there is potential in the series. This season starts a few months after the events of season 1, with each knight being controlled through a magic powder by a member of the Order. This was actually really fun because it felt like we were seeing an alternate version of what their lives could have been like, complete with Jack and that ridiculous blonde dye job. Oh my gosh, that was hilarious. And one of the things that I actually truly loved about this new season is that it felt like they took the positives and the best parts of season 1 and really amplified that. The way that they've written this show really balances that horror and the humor really well, and they went full on when it came to the pop culture references and just being extremely self-aware. And I think the self-awareness is honestly my favorite aspect of this entire show. They had these like goofy reoccurring jokes that this time we're actually laughing with them instead of at them. And I think they did a pretty good job of introducing different obstacles throughout the season that kind of culminated up to this bigger moment at the end. This season dives into some new and different relationship connections that some I was kind of actually really surprised about. We also got to see a pretty tumultuous relationship between Alyssa and Jack this season. Sometimes it was like they absolutely hate each other, they're frenemies, they can't stand each other, and other times it's like they're madly in love, and I was like, pick a side! You give me whiplash, we're going back and forth, this roller coaster of emotions. And speaking of that, when it comes to Alyssa, I feel like we actually get to see her go on a pretty big journey, from her powers being wonky, to her relationship with Jack, to ultimately becoming a bit of an antagonist this season. At first it might seem like, wait, what? But I think when you really think about it, Alyssa is a character who has always wanted to be a leader, she wants to do the right thing, and I feel like the Order doesn't actually allow her the opportunity to do that. The Order, and even the Knights, you know, we've seen time and time again sort of have this gray area that they live in when it comes to good versus evil. I think the show also brings up a lot of really interesting theories and discussions about power, how difficult it can be to evoke change, being a good leader, ethics and morality, and like I mentioned, the gray areas of good and evil, which is where I think a lot of this series lives in. Like, you know, nobody's like definitively good or bad. There's kind of aspects of both, and I think that's interesting to dive into, but also at the same time, because it is so gray, it's like pick a side a little bit, you know, like, you know, you want to see a story that has depth where it's like, okay, well, the bad guys, why are they bad? They're doing it for a quote-unquote good reason, or they have a reason that you can connect with. But in this story, I felt like they could have just pushed the envelope a little bit more by just making a more solid decision versus just solely being in that gray area. And also at the same time, I feel like this show, you just kind of have a lot of fun with it. That cheekiness, that, you know, self-awareness, and also the fact that this season there was just a lot of fun episodes that I think allowed the actors to really play with their characters. There's an episode that involves karaoke that, I mean, starts off fun and then gets really intense. There's an episode where the characters lose their ability to have fear, or there's another one where there's like body switching that goes on. And I think it's just really nice to be able to see the characters in a different light. I think especially with the character of Gabrielle, we actually really get to see her shine a lot in this season. I will say there are a few downfalls this season though. One of the reasons it's harder for the Order to control the Knights with their magic powder is because they're werewolves. And they do briefly touch upon the idea of like the hides retaining their memories, but I wish that they had dived even deeper into that. I thought that was a really cool concept that they could have just like done more with. Another thing is we actually lose Lilith pretty early on in this season to the demon underworld, and she's gone for most of it, so I found that a bit disappointing. When it's time to finally help her, I thought, you know, alright, we're gonna get a full episode diving into the demon underworld, and it wasn't really that deep. It was sort of just like tacked on very quickly at the end. And I think while the Knights continue to be the heart and soul and humor of the show, they also felt like they lost a lot of their own volition due to the Order. Oftentimes they had to lay low and, you know, just follow the rules so that they wouldn't get in trouble by the Order. And I kind of wanted to see them more doing their own thing and, you know, taking charge, taking names, wolfing out. Another thing is I think some of the magic felt a little bit confusing. I think in season 1, you know, we really got to see that there are prices to pay for using magic. And I think that at the end of the season we really see that, but there were a couple of episodes where I just kind of felt like, have we completely dropped that you have to pay a price for magic? It kind of felt like, you know, the wolves weren't really being notified when magic was being used, and, you know, that there wasn't as much going on there. We were also introduced this season to some more magical beings that were fun, but I think were a little bit sillier than I expected. You know, there were demons that were ready to do bidding for a good cocktail, or who fed off the fear that students had of exams. It was funny, but I was hoping for a little bit more horror there. There are some times when the storylines feel a little bit jarring, or they jump ahead to things and they don't fully make sense, but at the same time I do think that they've improved upon so much in season 2. And while there are times they play it a little bit too safe, they definitely went for a shocking moment in the finale. Now I want to get into some of the questions that I have that could lead to a season 3. Again, just a reminder, there will be a lot more spoilers here, so you've been warned. So Praxis is a new group of people who have discovered magic exists, and they want to be able to give it to everybody and not just have it be kept secret by these secret societies. Our main leaders have all kind of passed on, so is someone else going to step up, or is that the end of Praxis and maybe they'll potentially introduce a new big threat for season 3? There's also the questions of what happened to Lilith. They go to the underworld, they grab Lilith, but something's not quite right. She has these markings carved into her face. She says, like, you took me from my home. So that makes me wonder, has Lilith maybe been brainwashed and kind of succumbed to the demon, you know, forces, and, you know, she's become a demon? Or is she actually a doppelganger? Maybe she actually is a demon and that's not the real Lilith? I'm really curious to see what's gonna go on with that. We also learned about another werewolf hide, the Alpha. At this point it looks like nobody is using that hide, it's in its locker, but where is that? Who's going to end up taking that on? Speaking of werewolves, Midnight latches on to Gabrielle, and now she's part of the crew, but she sort of is having a different effect, it seems like, than everyone else, where she can't really control her hide, and her hide, Midnight, wants to go after Jack/Silverback. It looks like they've kind of formed a peace treaty for now, but, you know, anything could easily change. The Grand Magus has her powers taken away by Alyssa, and now she's powerless, so what is that going to mean for the future of the Order? Can she still lead? Will they work to get her powers back? How is that going to play out? And then I think the big kind of shocking moment that happens at the end of the season is that Alyssa, who, you know, has been leading Praxis, who's finally standing up for herself and trying to do what she thinks is right and giving power to all these people, is killed. And the last scene that we get to see is Jack taking her to the woods. We don't see what happens after that, so that makes me wonder, is there going to be like a bit of a twist in the next season? Like, will Alyssa really be dead and gone and not come back? Will she appear in flashbacks? There's a lot of magic involved, so anything can really happen, and, you know, her whole goal was to try to make it so the magic was accessible to everyone. So is there some way that maybe she used that spell and it's going to make it so that she actually isn't gone? It also makes me wonder if they may try to bring Alyssa back with the help of the Alpha hide. That would be pretty wild. I think that there's just a lot of questions, and honestly, I had a lot of fun with this season. I think that they really took it to the next level, and I think that they've opened up so many interesting places for us to go into potential season 3. Season 2 of The Order just really impressed me. That self-awareness, that commentary on the show just really, you know, it made me feel like I was part of the show, that I was in on the jokes, and I just really think that this is a great example of a show that, you know, had some potential in the first season, but that really took it to the next level in a second season, and I would love to see what they do moving forward. If you like this one, you can check out more of my reviews on The Order right over here, and I will catch you in my next video. See ya!